roll them. Let them roll. This is good shit. I mean, you got to might have to temper the language a little bit, but.
The Lightning Audio Network presents Martini Mondays with Phil Esposito and Bobby the Chief Taylor. Have a seat, grab a cocktail, and enjoy the show. Here's Espo and Chief.
One of the big changes, I think, in hockey, never mind on the ice, was the fact about chartering.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Oh, that's not staying overnight. Yeah.
No, chartering on an airplane instead of going commercial.
Right.
Which we all did.
Oh,
so when I played in the Myers in Chicago, and we had to travel down to Houston and San Antonio. So, you know, that same thing, we would have to jump on the commercial flights and all that stuff. It was great because you got to stay overnight in the city. You know, you could go out and actually see what San Antonio
that
and
part
Houston.
was great.
I like that. Brilliant.
But the crazy thing was we had guys miss flights all the time,
Yeah.
all the time. But the best part of the flying commercial was every guy got like United points. I can't remember what it was, like the rewards thing.
Oh yeah.
So when you go up and you're waiting for your flight, and the team paid for your flight, but you could get points.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of my first year, every single guy on our team, we had a free trip. You know, we were going to the Bahamas or something to go together because we had points.
Yeah.
Well, the Lightning were the last team to do it.
Right.
Because I remember I was the last guy because we didn't have the money. To do it.
Right.
And I remember going to the board and saying, look, we got a charter. We just got to. And we're the only team, and we're the laughing stock. And the Japanese said, okay, why we charter?
Well, you'd have to. You have to.
Well, you got like 50 people going.
Yeah, but it's just rest and
Trainers
being able to
and
get
all
to
that.
somewhere. And yeah, all the equipment they bring now. But I want to tell you the story about the trainers. So you talked about helping the trainers unload their gear and stuff. And so Derek Stottlemyre, I don't know if you remember his dad.
Oh, Sudsy?
Yeah, Sudsy. Yeah. So Derek's his son, and he was the trainer in Philly, and he was notorious for pranks all the time. So
his dad was worse.
Right. So I would show up, and my bag would be sitting there in my stall and be unpacked. And I'm like, what the heck? Why did they unpack my gear? Well, I go open it up, and he's in the bag, and he jumps up. And I'm just like, and I'm screaming. And he would do stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And he had that, the Gatorade coolers, they're on wheels.
Yeah.
And he'd be sitting in his office, and he'd have the Gatorade cooler outside of his office. And he'd be like, as I walk by, hey, Kobe, hey, can you grab me a Gatorade real quick? And I'd open this thing up, and this snake would pop out. I'd come screaming and yelling, and he'd have a he'd have a phone videoing the whole thing somewhere. But
I swear that Johnny Forrestal was worth at least 5 to 10 games with the Bruins of winning, just by his attitude,
right.
Just like we said.
Yeah, just a positive attitude, and
I don't know. It was the funny things he would say.
Oh yeah,
and do. And Ace Bailey was really good too. Ace was.
I played
nuts.
junior with Ace. Oh my gosh.
You know who Ace Bailey was?
Yeah.
He was nuts at 15 when I played
second.
junior with him with Edmonton.
Really?
The Oil Kings. Oh, he was nuts.
I saw something the other day on it was on the internet.
But I mean, he was a good nuts.
Yeah. It was the Florida. So the guys read the starting lineup before the game. This whole thing, right? The guys are before the game. So sometimes the trainers do it. Jason Berger does it a lot. He does a really good job. But in Florida, they came in and they had the laundry cart in the middle of the room, and had been there since the whole coach's speech, right? And so the coach goes, all right, now let's hear the starting lineup. And buried under all the towels was the trainer. And he popped out of the laundry cart. And he goes, all right, boys, tonight, here's who's starting, And you could just see the guys like, they're all tense and ready to go. And they just relax, And that's sometimes what you need. Just kind of that feel relaxed, go into the game, play loose. And, good things happen.
Who was the funniest guy, or not craziest, but the funniest guy that would do that in your dressing room?
They kept things loose.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys. Like, I think, and we talked about it before, but like a guy like Dan Girardi, he was always kind of having fun and loose. And whenever it got too serious, and like almost like I guess is the word self-defecating, like he would he'd make fun of himself, which would and when you do that, it disarms everybody, like they're kind of like, all right, let's just let's get to work here. Let's do this right way. And
That's cool.
yeah, and there was so many fun. Jody Shelley, he was another guy.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Jody Shelley, he would be out there, and Jody might play 6 minutes a night, but he would say some of the funniest stuff off the bench. You'd be lined up, and he'd be go, Kobe, don't get any closer to the circle. You're gonna poke someone's eye out with that nose, and I'm like, Jody, you're on my team. You're not supposed to be chirping me, And he would get on the bus after the game, and it could be a win or a loss, or it could be, get on the bus after the game. Usually it's pretty quiet, except for the sound of guys,
the
beer cans opening in the back of the bus, right?
A lot of coughing.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
That was so silly that we did that.
Oh, geez.
The coach knew. They all knew.
Oh, they have to know, right?
Freddie Sherrill was the weirdest coach.
No kidding.
But I know you had him, but he was also, he knew exactly what was going on. We always take the bus from Philly to go to play the.
I don't know how he knew it was going on. He was having a bag all the time.
I'll tell you why. It's because we had some beer for after the game, right? And you're whispering like this, and they weren't the pop-off ones. So what happened is somebody never got an opener. So we're all pissing and moaning like Clarkie, when he was playing, he could eat one with his teeth. But we were trying to figure out how to open up.
He did?
But he would come back. So one time we're all whispering, we learned to whisper in a sawmill, so it wasn't that suave.
Yeah.
Freddie comes back, he says, one of the things that you idiots should know, that no matter where you go and what trip you take, you pack the most important thing in your suitcase. And he handed us the beer opener. Yeah, he handed us the beer opener. Oh. Okay, thanks.
He was, without a doubt. I mean, I had Billy Ray when I first broke in Chicago in '63.
You didn't have very good ones.
Him and Billy and I are good. I remember him putting a dime, a quarter, and a silver dollar on the ice. And he says, come here. He says, see this dime? Kenny Warm can get off of this dime. Remember Kenny Warm?
Yeah.
He was a
Really
speedster.
skate.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything else, but he could really
fast.
skate.
He can really go fast, I'm saying. He says, Bobby, I'll get off this quarter. See this silver dollar? You can't even get off that. You understand? You could, if I put a $5 bill there, you couldn't get it off. I went, what are you trying to tell me? He says, you better work on going quicker, faster, earlier, or else you are destined for the minors for the rest of your life.
He said that to you?
Yeah. And I went, well, if you'd give me a chance playing center, maybe I'd do better. And he looked at me like, how dare you say that?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? 3 games later, Billy Hay got hurt.
Yeah.
Put me at center with Bobby and Chico Mackey, and I never played any place else with center. I almost begged him to play center because he had me at left wing, and I didn't like it.
Right. And you were asking me like the break that I had, and that's the break for you, right? Like,
Yes,
like someone
break.
getting hurt, and that's kind of just an opportunity.
And I was ready for it.
Yeah.
When I go to like kids banquets, if you're really intent on trying to make hockey or trying to make a sport, you better be prepared for that break.
Yeah.
Because most often the break comes, but if you're not really prepared for it, you might get lucky.
Yeah.
But most times it's just you don't get that second chance, especially with 6 teams.
Oh, jeez.
When there was only 6 teams.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, the competition
they sent
is
you down there.
yeah.
I was the only rookie on the team.
You only get one chance to make a good impression,
You get one
right?
Exactly.
chance, and that's it.
Yeah, that margin of error was 16.
Billy Ray called me aloof one time, and I said, "What the hell is aloof?"
Hold on, let me grab my dictionary.
It's a new kind of roof. It's a new kind of roof that you put on the shack. Aloof.
A loofy bar. You know what
Yeah, the loofahs.
Yeah,
The loofahs.
yeah. It's French for new roof. Aloof.
You're aloof. Holy crap. I asked Bobby Hill, he goes, "Don't ask me. I don't know what it means."
That's funny.
In New York, we stayed at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Is that the one
Yeah.
right across the street?
Right across.
Right.
Grand Central.
Yeah. I think guys, you'd have to probably ask Callahan and Boyle because I think they told me that they would come in from Connecticut or wherever they lived and they would get a day room the day of the
Yeah.
game and stay there.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I tried because when I got traded to New York, we lived in Long Island.
Yeah.
We practiced in Long Island. And I never understood that because that was Islander country.
Right.
And that was their domain. What the hell were we doing there? And when Sonny Werblin took over the Madison Square Garden in Paramount, I remember him asking me to go to dinner. And I'll never forget it because it was the first time I had vodka, jalapeno vodka.
Oh, really?
It was vodka sauce.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
With the
Yeah,
peñas
yeah.
pasta. Oh, was it ever good, man?
I know.
I'll tell you that, because I'm a vodka drinker to begin with.
Right.
And I'll never forget that because he says, what do you think of the guys moving into the city? I said, I think it's about time. Well, I was the only one married that moved into the city. But I was with Duguay, Greshner,
Oh.
Murdoch, and Barry Beck,
Yeah.
all single.
Oh.
I had a blast with these dudes.
Yeah,
okay?
no kidding.
But I knew enough when to go home.
Right.
And then ask them the next morning when I picked them up to go to practice. Well, they were all laid out in the back.
I played with I don't think he would mind me telling the story, but Hal Gill.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Hal would
Big
talk,
Big
and
Hal.
he, if we were sitting here, Hal would have had about 14 of these things. There'd be 14 empty cups. And he was one of the best teammates I've ever had. He was really, really awesome. And the year I played with him, he played 4 games. And he gave himself the official title as the party coordinator, because he was just our 7th D man, and we hardly had any injuries, and he was just like a positive guy all the time. And
He's broadcasting now.
He's broadcast, yeah.
Natural,
yeah,
isn't he?
and he's for Nashville. Yeah, he was working broadcasting. He was working with the team. He was kind of doing everything. So,
Good for him.
but really good guy, a good hockey guy. But I remember asking him, like, Hal, like, if you could have changed anything about your career, what would it have been? He's like, Kobe, I love my life. I love my kids. He's like, the one thing I would have changed is that when I played in Montreal, I would have been single. That's what he said. But
I understand.
he was just had a perfect personality, and it's no surprise that he's like done as well as he has after hockey. But
When I don't think nowadays, the guys make a lot of money nowadays, but they don't have the freedom because of, I think, the telephones.
The phone and
Everybody
social
could-
media and all
yeah.
yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's different. And
They
maybe,
could, Kobe,
Yeah.
you could be on the road. Okay, you and I and Chief go up to a bar. Some girl comes and stands beside you. And you turn and say, hey, hi. Somebody takes a picture. Post it on whatever they do on social media.
yeah.
Well, look at Braden Coburn with this young chick. I wonder what's happened. All of a sudden, now you got to go home.
Yeah.
And your wife says, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and that it keeps guys, it's definitely different than eras, right? But
Oh, yeah.
like I remember hearing stories, and I don't know if you guys could probably tell me if this is true or not, but like of guys going out, and then all of a sudden the next day on the radio they're interviewing the bartender, and the bartender's telling all the stories about these guys at the bar last night, and they got the juicy gossip.
Oh.
And this is the Canadian radio stations.
yeah,
They want
yeah,
to hear
yeah,
all this
yeah.
stuff, but yeah, it's definitely different. You can't.
Is it because of the money?
Well, I think it's
What
just
do you
because of access. It's the phones,
Yeah.
it's technology, but that stuff's changing too. Like you think about, not to sound like an alarmist and crazy person, but like AI, pretty soon it's going to be just like they could
Yeah,
generate
right.
you standing next
Yeah.
to, George Washington,
Right.
like there's Chief and George Washington, and it's
Yep.
going to look real as day. So
Let's see. Can you give me back 50 years? I'll play again.
I know.
There you
Oh, I
go.
would.
Let me ask you this, because I'm 3 years out now, and my first year out, I had a tough time being retired, but I found every year I've been out so far, it's gotten easier and better, and just kind of trying to find. I think it's more than anything, you're just trying to find purpose, right?
Yep.
And then, did you guys find that?
Oh, absolutely. For me, that first year was every time did I make the right decision?
Right.
Should I stay? And then it would be, the team wasn't good anyway, and we weren't going anywhere. They had to play the young guys, but boy, I could have been there, though. I could still play. I could have played. I could have played for another year or two.
Right.
I still felt good. It was all these questions.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
I'm better than that guy. I can do what that guy's doing.
Yeah, well,
Right.
hell, doing the radio is like I see because you're up there and it looks slow.
The game looks so
slower.
easy. Yeah.
Look, I mean, You know, I always say this, and I don't mean to be negative about radio, but I always say, well, maybe 35 of you are listening on the radio, so I could embellish a little bit.
Right. Well, I remember the first time I got healthy scratched, and it was in Atlanta. So I'm in Atlanta. I'd made the team as a 20-year-old, and I played a couple games, struggling, I guess. I was used to playing 30 minutes in junior.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm playing like 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a different, a different intensity, and you're playing against men and all this stuff. And I played, and so they sent me up to the press box, and I'm watching the game for the first time in the press box. And I'm looking down and I'm thinking, oh my God. Like, I've got this figured out. This game looks so easy.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
There's a play here. There's a play there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, after I get back, I'm going to be like Paul Coffey out there. No one's going to be able to touch me. It's going to be so easy, but it's so true. Like, when the higher up you get, the easier the game
easier it is.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And it's easy to be critical.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, most people don't like when you're broadcasting, I found, that you sugarcoat it.
Right. And it's a delicate
You
line,
just say
right?
what you think
Right.
and what you believe. You're wrong. But this is what I believe at that particular moment. Like when we go to if we talk about the Lightning right now, I don't think any of us would disagree that we have a problem in our own zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been year long, right?
It's been year long, and we do. And it seems to me like it doesn't get addressed. And that pisses me off to no end. And I wonder why. And I wonder who devised this defensive system. Who did it? Now, Coop's the head coach, but does he do it? Because when you call timeout, it's the assistant coaches that are doing the drawings
Right.
and all this other stuff. I don't know about you. We had one coach when I played. Okay. My last 2 years, there was two coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
Mike Nikolak was, the only time I had two coaches was with Freddie.
Freddie with Mike, yeah. Well,
In
Mike was the
New
first
York.
assistant coach in the league
Yeah.
at the time for us in Philly.
But I wanted to hear from the head coach
Yeah.
what he thought. I didn't really want to hear from the assistant coach that I should be doing this. But each one's individual now, and you got four guys behind that bench. You've got the iPads.
Cool.
To me, there's too much information.
it's
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you wanted to say one thing about changing the game, right? Changing the game, you could outlaw video. No, coaches are not allowed to use video anymore. And then there would be so many more mistakes, and guys would not be in the right spots.
Yeah.
And it would just change and be more up to the players to kind of
Because
troubleshoot, right?
everything, and you're only 3 years removed.
Yeah.
Everything is sort of like disciplined to go to certain areas,
The
correct?
system is very
But
much
hockey's
structured,
not,
right?
Hockey's not structured like that, though. It's not like football where you have a pulling guard. You got to take
But
out
they
that
do
leg.
that, though, Chief.
No, I know that. That's what I'm saying. Hockey is so impromptu because it's fast, but you can't just sit there. Okay, if I come back and set of a spot I'm playing defense. No, because the guy that it might be there, he might be over here, he might be over there, he might be up here. What bothers me more than anything is nobody looks around to where the trouble is.
Right.
Eddie Bush, the old Detroit Red Wing.
God.
They're-
He
and-
punched me in the face, that son of a gun.
Yeah.
I love how you can remember old gripes
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
Someone was asking me
what
the other day, I was like talking about Nick Antropov, and I'm like, yeah, I got a $2,500 fine because I cross-checked this guy in the face. And I'm like, I will remember that forever, you know? Like,
Sorry, Chief.
Oh, but Eddie Bush was my coach in Quebec one time. And he used to always preach, the guy without the puck is the playmaker. And for the longest time, we would always look at him and couldn't figure it out because, you have to have the slick play.
Yeah.
He said, well, think about it. If you have the puck and everybody's covered, where the hell are you going to make the play?
well, to your
So
point,
you have to make that. You got to make sure you know where the trouble's going to come from.
Yeah.
And that's where I get so frustrated when I watch our team because nobody looks around. They all five guys are zeroed in on the puck.
right.
Look once in a while, just look around to see where that open guy is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? They're 9 times out of 10, the open guy's going to get a pass.
Yeah. it's tough too. Like defense, the guys are moving around, and there's
That's
there's
what
a
I mean.
lot of deception, and guys are switching, and you look at a guy like, let's say, Cale Makar. Most defensemen, you're thinking defense is going to be on the point.
Right.
That guy's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He could be in front of the net. He could be behind the net. And when guys and defensemen can move like that and are creative and they have that ability to roam,
So
it is.
it's
But
such a
that's
handful.
why you have to look
You
around.
got to be, but like Phil was saying about Bobby, when he was playing
right.
with Bobby, he knew where he had to go because eventually Bobby's going to have to get rid of the puck.
Yeah.
So you put the puck where the guys are,
Yeah.
like where you
Yeah.
got, he's going to give it up. So yeah, that's a big component to like playing,
I know.
especially in the D zone,
Yeah.
and then what you do when you get the puck, right?
Yeah.
You can be the best team and you can get the puck, shut them down defensively. But if you turn it back over again, that's a world of problems.
Yeah.
And, I think that's another layer of kind of some of the things that good teams do well and bad teams don't.
Well, I remember the first time in 1972 when we played the Russians. What we didn't understand is they weren't allowed to they were not allowed to shoot the puck in at the blue line. We didn't know this until after the series.
Right.
So they had to carry it in. But we figured it out. Harry figured it out because he was coaching, sending with Fergie. And Ratty, John Rattel, myself, and Makita were in a lot of these meetings. And Stan, being from Europe
Czech, yeah.
and having to sneak out of the country,
Yeah.
to play,
Yeah.
he was the one that said, I don't know whether they're allowed to shoot it in like we do. And it's a funny thing because when I got to know Tretiak pretty well and Yakashev
Yeah.
really well, they told me the same thing. The coaches refused to allow them to shoot the puck in and go chase it.
Right.
They had to carry it in. But once we knew that, we stopped them.
Yeah.
And because people say, how the hell did you come back from and win 3 games in a row in Moscow? And that was one of the reasons. We tried to stop them from getting in a certain area. It seems to me that in this game nowadays, especially the deflections, like some guy, you'll pass it out to me and I'm at the red line or
And just
even at,
tip it in
just
and
tip it in
chase
and bing, you got to go in and then bingo, they come out or whatever. But to try to carry it in, I don't know whether that would work in this day and age with the way the guys are now, because the guys are so much faster.
Yeah. Well, you see Cooch, like you can tell he does not like to shoot
no.
in.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. But, so I'm playing in Philly, and the year we got, it was one of the best teammates I had and most interesting years, but Jaromir Jagr comes to Philly.
Yeah.
So he plays the 1 year in Philly for us. And we're doing practice, and Peter Laviolette's our coach, and we're doing this drill where we break it out, and then we get to the red line and we dump it in, right? And so it was a line of Claude Giroux, Scott Hartnell, and Jagr. And me and Kimo Timonen are the defense. So we break it out, we give it to those guys, give it to Claude, he gives it to Jagr, and Jagr gets to the red line, and then he just skates it all the way to the goal line. And Laviolette blows the whistle, and he's like, Yogs, you got to dump the puck in. He's screaming and yelling at him. So we skate back to our zone, break it out, do it again. And he does the same thing over again, twice in a row. And finally, like, Laviolette comes and he's like, what the hell? And we're like seeing Yogs, you got to dump it in. He goes, I'm not going to go and practice dumping the puck in. That's so stupid. And we just decided we were not going to pass to Jagr anymore. We were going to pass to the other side so Hartnell could dump it in, just because he was like, I'm not practicing dumping the puck in. And he was from that era of like, him and Lemieux, and they wanted to control the puck.
Exactly.
It's like, why would I give the puck up, give it to the other team, and then try to work to get it back?
Well, Wayne was like that.
Yeah.
Wayne, he didn't like to shoot it in too often. He liked to make a little play by the blue line and all that. Mario definitely did that.
Yeah.
And, then you got guys like Clarkey. He shot it in and he went like a mother.
Oh,
right.
Because he was whacking the heck out of it.
He was coming. He was coming on a freight train to get you, right?
Oh, yeah.
He'd be whacking back of your kneecaps and your ankles and everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Bobby
when
was something,
we
boy.
played the Russians that year and beat them 4-1.
We would have never beat the Russians 72 without Bobby Clark. I've told this to Clarkie many, many times because a lot of people gave him a lot of
big
for
time.
the slashing on Karmelov. And people asked me that after the series was over, just after. And I said, well, the only thing I'm pissed off about is he didn't do it in the first game.
Yeah.
Should have broke his ankle in the first game.
But like the Russians there, like they had a very strict style that they were going to play, right? But that was their undoing. You know, if they had a flexible coaching, you know, like kind of flexible guidelines to what they were doing, you know, you guys might not have been able to come back, right? If they were able to kind of flex and change their system, but they were very rigid, and had to do this.
The kids in 1980, the Americans had beat them probably the same thing. Herbie Brooks was smart enough to realize that they weren't going to shoot it in very often, and whatever they did, and of course Jimmy Craig, he never played like that.
Yeah, played out of his mind. Yeah,
he was out of his stinking mind that game, man.
Yeah.
Well, the year we beat him in '76, like we talked about.
Oh, you guys scared him to death.
Well, I know we did, but the thing is that we were told Freddie Shero and Mike Nicolak scouted him. So Mike especially, because he went around and watched all the games that they played. We were the last ones to play.
Right.
And we were the Cup champions. And so nobody had beaten them before. Tied, but nobody had beaten them. So
they kicked the hell out of us in New York.
Yeah, and he said,
7-2.
listen, he says, they wait for you to dump the puck in. And he says, and then you charge and get it. But then they would pass it around and then spring guys loose and get odd man rushes all the time. Freddie always said, if you're not 90% sure you're going to get the puck, I do not want you going past the blue line. So we actually played the trap back then.
Right, you trapped them up.
We actually played the trap, and they didn't know what to do. They would circle and circle and circle, and we'd be standing there waiting for them, and they didn't know what to do. We outshot them 43-13 and only beat them 4-1. Tretiak was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have beat them 10-1.
I'm just thinking back, like if I played and some national team showed up and did an exhibition and played all these NHL teams, like how that's just so that's so foreign for me to think about. That you guys got to do that, or that the league did that.
Well, they were nervous about that because we had all the Clarence Campbell.
But we weren't allowed to be in the Olympics or anything like that.
Yeah.
We didn't have, the first Canada Cup was in 76, and I did play in that, but that was the first time outside 72, and then 74, the WHA guys played against them.
Yeah.
Because Gordy played, Bobby Hull played, Cheesy played.
Yeah. They got beat, though, didn't they?
They got beat, yeah. They got beat by the rest.
But people did, back then.
But it wasn't like, I think it was like 4-3 or something.
Yeah.
But it was close.
People just, in Canada anyway, and even in because our North American hockey, they didn't think that they were any good, the Europeans.
Right.
We didn't have any Europeans. It was English and French players, basically, when we all played. Boris Salming, I always say Boris Salming.
I was the only Guinea.
Huh?
I was the only Guinea, that's for sure.
Oh, I know.
Alex Del Vecchio, that was another one.
Yeah. But, Boris Salming, for me, was one of the toughest players I've ever seen play.
Yeah.
The crap that he went through.
Better believe he did.
Oh, he was just brutalized, and he kept coming back. He wasn't a fighter.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the crap and the verbal abuse he got because he was a European. And he was really good.
Yeah.
But, and there was hardly any of them then.
Can you imagine that now?
No, the English guys get abused.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah.
If you were European back then, you got it from everybody.
Man, everybody.
Whether it was a spear or whether it was, I know I speared Salming many times myself. And because in front of the net, if you couldn't I tried to spear him.
He was a really good
in
player.
the groin or the stomach just to get him away.
Who's the other Swede that came with him? He was a forward.
Yeah.
He came
Ingestrom.
Ingestrom,
Harold Ballard says he can go in the corner with a pocket full of eggs and come out with the eggs still.
No, not even broken.
Oh, really?
Not one broken.
Harold was a beaut, man.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for listening to Martini Mondays with Phil Esposito and Bobby the Chief Taylor. New episodes drop every Monday in your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to tip your waitress and leave us a 5-star review.